There was a time when nursing was celebrated in song and verse, when world-famous artists were commissioned to capture nurses on canvas, when magazine covers, advertisements, poems, and sheet music immortalized nurses, when books, dolls, and toys made every little girl dream of being a nurse when she grew up. There was a time when it was bold, noble, and patriotic to be a nurse. That time has come again at the Lost Art of Nursing Museum. Why is there a nursing museum in Cannon Beach? Because I'm here. That's the short answer. Here is the rest of the story. My name is Melodie Chenevert. Since the early 1970s, I have asked the same question at every antique store, rummage sale, or flea market. Do you have any items with nurses on them? I would drag home whatever I found and squirrel it away. I grew up in Iowa, and in 1963 got my diploma from Methodist Kaler School of Nursing in Rochester, Minnesota. Our faculty told us we would need our bachelor's degrees and highly recommended the University of Washington. I packed up my VW Bug and drove west. During spring break in 1965, I wandered down the Oregon coast. At Cannon Beach, I saw the ocean for the very first time. I was totally smitten. There's a line in a John Denver song about coming home to a place he'd never been before. That's exactly how I felt. Soon after falling in love with the ocean, I met my future husband, Gary Chenevert. While I earned my bachelor's and master's in nursing, he earned his PhD in nuclear physics. Fortunately, nurses are very portable because physicists are not. So I followed in Gary's footsteps from Seattle to Lexington, Kentucky, to Madison, Wisconsin, to Kennewick, Washington, and to Gaithersburg, Maryland. When we moved to the East Coast, Gary pointed out that there was also an ocean on that side of the country. We visited that other ocean from Nova Scotia to Florida, but the Oregon coast remained my first love. While we were in Wisconsin, I earned a second master's in journalism and began writing books for nurses. My first book, Stat, Special Techniques in Assertiveness Training, begins with a parable of an eagle who had been brought up to believe he was a chicken. The book had a bird theme throughout, and everyone's favorite chapter title was How to Tell a Turkey to Stuff It. I never suspected that the spin-off of writing would be speaking. My first invitation came from Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. I stepped on stage in a homemade eagle suit and read the parable. The nurses loved it. My phone started to ring, and it didn't stop. More books, more costumes, and more time in airports. I've done more than 1,000 presentations in 49 of the 50 states, across Canada, in England, Australia, and Japan, and I never stopped collecting nursing memorabilia. In Maryland, we bought a house 4 blocks from our home for my office. Suddenly, I had a 2-story building with high ceilings and lots of empty white walls, just waiting to display framed posters of nurses from World War I, World War II, and the Red Cross. Sheet music, books, dolls, nurse kits, photographs, advertisements, and other nursing memorabilia were prominently displayed. Everyone who came to my office commented on what a wonderful museum I had. Upstairs, I created a playroom for stressed-out nurses and filled it with toys, games, puppets, musical instruments, a marching band bed, an adult-sized old gray mare rocking horse, and artwork that made me laugh. My best job ever? Being the psychiatric nurse attached to the pediatric unit. In June 2005, I was in Astoria for the 20th reunion of the first class of nursing students to graduate from Clatsop Community College School of Nursing, a program I set up in the early 1980s. During that visit, I bought a house in Cannon Beach that was commercially zoned. Slowly, very slowly, we moved west. In 2013, we officially became Oregonians. The Lost Art of Nursing Museum is on the main floor of that house. There you'll find my complete collection of nursing memorabilia. Upstairs, you'll find the entire playroom, still a favorite hangout for our grandchildren and nurses of all ages. Above the window, spelled out in a crazy collection of letters, is one of my favorite Oliver Wendell Holmes quotations. We don't stop playing because we get old. We get old because we stop playing. Long before our permanent move to Cannon Beach, whenever I was in town, I would sit in on the Wednesday morning meetings for business owners. One day, they were discussing how to get more heads in beds. That tickled me because hospitals are always trying to get heads out of beds. I realized that I had something unusual, something that might attract tourists. After the meeting, I went directly to City Hall and asked for guidance. I told the city fathers that there were 40,000 nurses in Oregon, 80,000 in Washington, and 3 million in the United States. Opening a nursing museum would give nurses and their families one more reason to choose Cannon Beach as a destination. That's how this pack rat became a curator, and my personal collection became a museum. I named it the Lost Art of Nursing Museum for 2 reasons. First, because so much of the collection was discarded. Second, because my first class in nursing school was called Nursing Arts. Back then, we emphasized that nursing was an art as well as a science. Today, technology and the economics of healthcare demand so much attention, there is precious little time or energy left for nurses to practice their art. This museum is a reminder that there is history worth remembering and repeating, and that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Not everyone can get to the Oregon coast to visit the museum. It's a shame because my museum's visitor book is full of exclamation marks. The most frequent words are amazing, awesome, inspiring, excellent, enjoyable, educational, fabulous, fascinating, fun, and wow. The most frequent phrase is thank you. Thank you for sharing, for keeping the spirit of nursing alive, for honoring our profession in such a wonderful way. It's been described as a joy-filled, magical journey through nursing that brought a smile to my heart and tears to my eyes. I am so proud to be a nurse. A nursing professor wrote, "This should be a national shrine." A non-nurse wrote, "I've been to a number of small private museums, and this is by far the best organized and most well displayed of any I've seen. Thank you."